and do the Pledge of Allegiance. So Franklin, bring up the flag.
At the flag.
Yep. You can see the flag.
If you pin my window, the flag should come up.
Yeah, it's there now.
Okay.
Okay, let's get started. I
I
pledge
pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thanks. All right. Next up, we have health and welfare. I hate to report this, but Dick Bixler passed away on April 5th of this year. And of course, he was in the call letter. And we also had a request for Joe Bowling, who wanted to join the meeting. So I don't see him out there, but he did request being able to kind of test this out and see what he thought. So I sent him the link, but I don't see him here yet. So does anyone else have any other health and welfare? I heard that someone out there, let's see, what was his name? Oh, well, it'll come back to me, but he had surgery on his back and is recovering. So I asked his wife if we could say something about it, but she never responded back. So, you know, perhaps I won't mention the name, but I don't know if anyone else heard anything about anyone having surgery.
There's Bob Dool, member of our club. He lives in, excuse me, he lives in Ashland, and he had back surgery.
Mhm.
And
Do you have any other updates on that?
well, it turned out he had infection after the surgery. So they had to go in and put a drain tube in the back of his back. So drain
Okay.
out infection. So he's getting better now.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the update. So next is leads and needs. Does anyone have any leads and needs?
I have a need for an IF transformer in the can at 175 kilocycles. Does anyone know someone who might have a supply of those?
Why don't you talk to Blake?
I have. And
How big physically are they? Or does that matter?
It can be just the normal size. A 3-inch tall can would work.
Yeah. What kind of radio was it out of?
It's going into a project I have here, a keg radio.
455 kilohertz, you say?
No, 175.
Oh, well.
It's an early.
You got that one. All right.
So you're talking about, Ed, a radio that's probably maybe older, in the 30s perhaps?
Yeah, it's a very early 30s radio. And the one side of the existing IF is open, and there's no way to get in there to patch it up or rewind it. So I'm going to try to install just a separate can to replace that.
Maybe something offline. Is there any way for a kind of a novice person like me to be able to figure out what IF cans I have to help you? Do I measure across 2 leads for some kind of resistance?
No, that value was used only on very early radio. So if you don't have something in the early 30s or late 20s, you're probably not going to have it. And then, of course, a schematic. If you have a a candidate, you just get a hold of the schematic and it will tell you what value it is. I don't know how to determine that electronically, you know.
You'd have to look at it with an oscilloscope or something and drive it loosely from an oscillator and
Yeah.
see how it peaks up.
Yeah.
Or your signal generator.
Or grid dip meter.
Yeah, grid dip, yeah. If you got one of those.
I don't have those capabilities.
Okay. Are there any other leads and needs? Okay, next up is old business. And I want to thank all those people who helped on the April 24th auction at the Grange. I think a lot of people had fun there and there were some good deals to be had. And looking forward, we have some more things coming up.
Pat,
Yes.
this was unclaimed at the last auction. We hope to have people take a look at it during leads and needs and see if somebody recalls who bought it.
What was the bidder on it? Who's the bidder number?
Well, it says Brian Toon, but he doesn't claim it.
Okay, Brian Toon is bidder number 210.
Right, but Brian doesn't claim it, so.
Well, is that on, Led, do you have by chance the references to see who paid for 210?
Just give me some time. I have to go back, get those papers.
Okay, all right, it'll check up on that.
Thank you.
Okay, still for old business, we need someone to be the volunteer for the secretary's position, so don't be shy. Is Lyles online?
No,
Ooh, gee, does anyone want, just write down some notes from, take some minutes? That doesn't mean that you're gonna be the secretary from now on, but can anyone volunteer to
Yeah.
write?
Yeah, I can do it. I've done it before. So let me get something I can write down.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
we're also recording this, so
True.
Also wanted to let everybody know that I got all the recordings up that I have that weren't corrupted. So all the Wednesday night ones are up and all the meetings are up too. So they're all on YouTube now. I'm up to date. So just to let you know.
Cool, awesome.
Saw that. Now I got to find the time to watch them all.
that's great.
Okay, does anyone have any other old business they want to bring up? Okay, next up,
So hold on. That was the first old business. That was that battery eliminator Heath kit, and no one's claiming it from the auction, or
right, but Ed said he was going to check to see.
okay. I'll write
Okay,
that. Okay.
Pat, I do not have the sign-up sheet, you know, that was in the loose leaf binder. That's
I
the
do.
only, oh, then you should have the answer right in there.
Well, no, it says the auction, the bidder number, the bid on was 210, and 210 is Brian Toon, but he claims it's not his.
Oh, all right.
So we're hoping by chance, if you had who paid for that item.
No, I don't, because I was working with bidder numbers, not names. And all I have the receipts that I made up for everything that was sold. And there's a lot of them.
Well, look
But
under.
I'm not gonna, it's not gonna give me a name, you know?
Oh, well,
What's the item number, Pat?
Dick and Dan, do you have the item number of that Heath kit?
Yes, it's item number 1919.
It's a battery eliminator, right?
Right. Heath kit.
And was this part of the Hunker listing or the Jacobson?
It was the Hunker.
All right.
It's sold for $5.
Well, I think I'd just hang on to it, Dan.
Okay, we'll bring it to you at the swap meet, Bruce.
Okay, I guess while Ed's looking that up, we'll go to new business. So first up is the spring radio sale. Robbie, you want to take over on that?
Hey, I talked to Lisa and we're still going for the 15th of May. She says we only can do 50% capacity in the building. And when we get it set up on Friday afternoon, we can get in there at about 3 o'clock and start setting up at 3. She says the front door is going to be the entrance for the people to come in, and the back door is going to be the exit. So
What time was that again on Friday night, Robbie?
probably about people can start, excuse me, people can start coming in at 5 o'clock, but I told Lisa we're going to be there at 3 to set up the tables. So we'll be ready for people to come in at 5 to start putting stuff in. So we still have the hole yet. It hasn't closed down yet on us.
Okay,
So how many people is 50%?
yeah.
How many people can the building hold? That's
There should be she should know that. I think Lisa should know that. There should be usually a fire marshal sticker or something somewhere, or some information on the building somewhere of what the capacity is.
Yeah, I don't remember looking at it, but I'm sure there is.
I'm sure there's got to be a check.
Get over there Friday about 3 o'clock. I'm going to check on it, and then we can figure out how many people we can let in at a time.
Do we have to wear masks and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we have to wear masks. Yep. Because with that many people walking around, I'd say the building would probably hold 400 people, but I think maybe 150 at a time could come in.
Oh, I don't think so.
That's too many.
I think you're
Not
talking,
150.
Way too many.
you're talking maybe 25 in the basement, I would think.
And 25 upstairs.
Well, is there going to be? Oh, this is Aurora.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're probably talking maybe 50. I don't know.
Well, you have all the first you have all the vendors, you have to count them, and then you're gonna be able to figure out how many of the public you can let in at a time.
Yeah, so when I get over there Friday afternoon, I'll figure that out.
Okay, great. What about lunch?
Yeah, she's going to be, I can't remember her name now. But
Oh, Arlene?
Arlene Cuisine.
yeah, she's going to be there Saturday morning. Probably, she said 8 o'clock. She's going to start setting up. But the thing, you can't go in the building. She's going to bring her catering van, and they're going to serve food out of the van across the street at that antique store.
Oh.
The antique store allowed her to park her van there in their parking lot. So it's going to be outside.
So Robbie, is there going to be places for us to eat downstairs, or is it all covered by vendors?
It's going to be all covered by vendor. There's no food being served downstairs. It's all going to be served out of her van.
Right. But where can we eat it at? Is there going to be any place for us to eat?
Yeah, there's some tables down there. There's going to be some spare tables because I don't think we're going to end up using all our tables because we've got about 3 tables left. So, yeah, we will be able to eat downstairs. Sure.
Okay.
Isn't the current edict for outside dining only? I mean, for public? Isn't that what the governor has put out here recently?
She changed it Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, she did?
It's open now.
Okay.
Everything's open.
All right. She saw the light.
She made a math error is what happened, is what they say. 14.9% compared to 15%. So that's what she said anyway.
So that's all I've got so far on the show.
Okay, thanks, Robbie.
Okay, Pat, the item 19 was sold for $5 to bidder 210. We already know it's Brian Toons, right?
Right.
Is that,
So you collected $5 from him, right?
Yes. Yes. I mean, that's what we wanted to find out, who it belongs to, right?
Right.
Yes.
So give him a phone call, tell him where it is.
Yeah. So Dan and Dick, go ahead and call, let him know that and tell him that it doesn't matter if he wants or not. He's the one who paid for it. So it came out of his pocket.
Okay, we'll take care of it with Brian. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Did you have a drink before the auction?
Cutting corners to help insurers increase profit. Or you can choose Lace. We only work for you. Factory parts and repair. We don't let insurers take advantage of
We hear you, Blake.
Added pickup and delivery.
It's working.
Assist. Choices.
I got a commercial.
The Blake
Sorry
listening to
about
radio.
that. I thought it was muted.
Yeah.
All right, next new business item is we're going to have a Vern Howell radio auction on Saturday, May 29th at the Abernathy Grange. So I want to encourage people to show up for this. He had mostly plastic radios, a few wood ones, but thanks to Don Eckes and especially Dan Howard, we're going to have this Zenith Walton up for auction. And if it wasn't for Don, who turned over the lead to us, and then also for Dan, he went and drove all the way to the Tri-Cities to pick up this radio and drive all the way back. So we're going to have this nice Zenith radio. I believe it's a 9.2. So it's not a battery set, it's 110. And we're hoping maybe someone could take a look at this and give us some pointers to see maybe if there's anything we can do to kind of enhance the sale of it, because it's pretty much going to be sold as is. But if we knew that it was looking okay for restoration purpose, it might sell a little bit better. It looks like it has a good speaker. It has all of the tubes. In fact, there's another extra box of tubes in here. And like I say, it's a 110 set, so it's not battery. And unfortunately, it's missing one of the original wood Zenith knobs. So that might take away a little bit of the value, but it's going to be up for auction. So be sure to come to that auction on the 29th at the Grange, because this will be up for bids. And you have to, we don't allow pennies on the bids anymore. It has to be in whole dollar increments. So, you know, the cheapest this will go for is $1.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I think it'll go a little more than that, Pat.
Okay. But it won't go for $100.01 because we won't allow that 1 cent.
Right.
Well, we just rounded up to $101, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All righty. And on another note, I don't know if you guys remember the Jim McCracken estate sale down in Crotsfordville that they've been having. I got called up by Kathy, and there's going to be a special NWVRS member-only auction on Saturday, June 6th. And this is the first time that the vacuum tubes, grill cloth, and a bunch of other stuff will be up for sale. And we're invited down there. So we'll send out more information as the time comes. You know, we have the radio sale this weekend. We got another auction coming up in a couple weeks. So be sure to watch your emails, because I took pictures down there and there's like 2 rows of shelves that she says are filled with tubes. So obviously there's going to be plenty of tubes down there for sale.
That was the 5th, Pat?
Yeah, no, Saturday, June 6th.
There is no 6th.
Is it? It's the 5th?
That's Sunday.
Oh, okay. Oops. All right. I stand corrected. I wrote it down in the new business on the agenda, so it's Saturday, June 5th.
5th, okay.
Oh,
Wasn't
my
sure if
mistake.
it was Saturday or Sunday, so
Saturday.
Saturday, June 5th, okay.
Right. Well, like I say, we will have more emails going out. There'll be pictures going out of what, you know, the tubes and stuff. And she said there will be a discount on all the remaining radios.
Okay, well, sure, Mike Miller will be there to buy all the tubes.
Probably. Hey, does anyone know how to get hold of Mike Miller?
Did you try get?
I have his phone number.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
Robbie's got it, great.
Okay, offline, can you send it to me?
Sure, I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Okay. All right, next up for new business, we have 2 new interns. This is a invite for college students that are enrolled in any kind of radio or radio-related field to try out the club. This is a push to get more new, younger members to join up. So Kyle, Magnus, and Declan O'Hara are first to be our new interns. And I think
Spell, what's the first one? Kyle what, Pat?
Magnus.
Okay.
K-Y-L-E, Magnus, M-A-G-N-E-S-S.
N-E-S-S, okay. And the
And
other one was
Declan O'Hara. Declan is D-E-C-L-A-N.
A-N, and then
O'Hara.
apostrophe
Apostrophe H-A-R-A.
A-R. Got it. Got it. Thanks, Pat.
Okay, no problem. I don't know. I don't see them on the, are they out there?
Doesn't look like it.
No, darn it. Okay, anyhow, those are our new interns, and we're going to try to expand this to invite other college students as well, because we need new blood in this club. We need someone to take over and carry on the hobby. And of course, new members tend to buy things like console radios and other things that some of us would be more than happy to sell. You know, battery sets.
Hey,
things like that.
Pat, wasn't Declan the one from OSU that was at the auction?
Yes, he was.
Thank you.
Yes, he had a bunch of World War II electronic apparatus that he was selling. So I don't know if anyone bought any of that or what. I don't even know what he had for sale, but apparently it was interesting for anyone who knows World War II electronics. Okay, all right. Next up is this estate planning and disposal. Several people voiced their concerns about some of the things we've been doing lately. And one of those is getting a bunch of items from estates and having to dispose of them, and especially items that don't sell or things that people are not willing to bid on or even take home, even if they're free. So I apologize. Part of that is my fault, but most of the estates we've been getting have been, you take everything or nothing. And I figure it's, well, there's enough good stuff out there to take them up on their offer, but unfortunately we have some items they'll have to dispose of. So I kind of wanted to see what you guys feel about trying to address this problem. And I think the main goal would be to find out what should NWVRS's role in this. In other words, what function should the Radio Society provide for members of the club and also for estates not within our club. And I believe the focus should be, we want the best outcome for the family or the estate. So,
Well, I remember when we first started having auctions, we sat down, and this goes way back. I think it goes back to when Sid was president, and that we wanted to address auction rules. So we said, and I don't know where those are at, you know, they should be in our bylaws or something, but we wanted to address auction rules for that very purpose. And for one, we didn't want one person going out and looking at a bunch of an estate to make sure that, you know, not that we don't trust anybody, but just as a general rule to make sure that everything was going to be fair. And then number one. Number two, when we had stuff like that, that was just out and out junk and was maybe just like bare chassis or chassis and broken speakers and stuff like what you're talking about there, then we as a club could refuse it and say, you know, well, this can all just go to, if you want to maybe pull the tubes out, we'd be willing to take those as a donation of the rest of this stuff. And if not, even the rest of the stuff, as bad as it would be, just needs to go to metal recycling, that type of thing. And then, you know, it's not us as our club to do that, not to not take care of somebody that has an estate or a family to not take care of their needs. But then again, as a club with stuff like that, we're just going to be doing a lot of work, you know, transporting this stuff just to be able to get rid of it, you know. And so unless, the only other thing that I could suggest on that is that, you know, since we made those auction rules, that was one of the reasons why we did that, so that we weren't going to be a club just getting rid of someone's junk.
I agree. You know, there has to be an evaluation of what they have and be honest with them and tell them this group of stuff here is not going to sell, and advise them to bring it to the dump, you know.
I suggest somebody take a hard look at our charter.
what was that, Blake?
I suggested that somebody needs to take a good hard look at the club charter.
And I have done that in respects to what, Blake, as far as you mean helping the community, because that's part of our charter.
Our charter is not to take things to the dump. Our charter is to preserve radios and the history thereof. And I agree that you should help the membership, but the charter of the club is around radios, not the membership. Sorry to be so harsh.
Well, it's a preservation of radios. I guess
Radios, not junk.
Well,
You're stuck between a rock and a hard place when you're given a bunch of things that are good, but you got to take them with a bunch of crap too. And that's, you know, it's a decision that I believe it'd be pretty hard to make depending upon, you know, how good the good stuff was as compared to.
I would say we don't take them at all.
Blake, your bandwidth is way too slow.
Something's wrong.
Hey, Blake, you're breaking up.
Again, I don't mean to be harsh, but maybe you should be walking away from that and let them read.
We don't read you, Blake.
We can't hear what you're saying at all.
Well, that fixed it.
Maybe suggesting that we don't take anything in, you know, if there's any junk with it at all, period, no matter what it is, you know. Only take stuff that's good and preservable.
How come?
Ask him, why didn't you get it? Now we can't do minutes, you didn't, you weren't part.
what was that?
think
Oh,
it was
there's Lyles.
Lyles.
Hi, Lyles.
Good morning. How did I miss our meeting?
I don't know.
Very
didn't-
careful.
We didn't call you this morning, huh?
Hey, Lyles, I started doing the minutes, and so I've got them down to where we're at this present time. If you wanted to continue or start or take over,
Yeah,
then
I'll
we can
continue
just
on.
we can just combine them. How about that?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so the last point on the estate planning disposal was that we only take the good stuff that would be things that would be appreciated by the radio community and then leave everything else.
Well, there has-
My point is that if you're offered all or nothing and there's crap in there, then I suggest it would be nothing.
So what's junk? Maybe.
Yeah,
junk-
yeah, I know. It's in the eyes of the beholder, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want all those IF transformers. Oh, Ed wants one. Oh, well, we already tossed it.
Well, that's a tough decision for me because I probably intercept most all of these communications. And for example, this one that we got from Vern Howe, it was all or nothing. And, you know, she said, you know, you got to get the stuff out of here. So there's time constraints as well. And that's why I wasn't at the not last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, because I had to go pick up all this stuff. I made the call that said, okay, well, I believe there's value in this. I don't mind going ahead and picking it all up and storing it, giving inventory, and then having an auction. So did I do wrong by the society?
I would say no.
No, I think you just did wrong by yourself. I think, you know, to put yourself through all that work. I mean, it wasn't anything that was harmful to the rest of the club, but my goodness, we did that just for that very reason, so people would not be taking truckloads of stuff. And you know, you and Esteban had to make 2 trips to get rid of all of it out of the clubhouse and all that. I mean, that was the whole idea for the auction rules, to not be taking that kind of stuff, is just so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I will admit that the Jorgensen estate was something that I instigated, and I'm to blame for that. But the problem I had with that is I got information from Jason Rogers from PSARA of the stuff that was in this estate. And when I looked at the pictures versus what we got, there was a huge disconnect. And there were some, I think, much more valuable pieces than we got that weren't in the pickup. And so I am to blame for that. So I will take responsibility for that. But I believe that I was totally misled. That was another take everything or leave it. But the pictures I got were, wow, this is good stuff. And we didn't get that. So I believe I was, you know, tricked into taking this estate when they really didn't want to give up all the stuff that was listed in the pictures.
Oh, I see. Wow.
That's
kind of a bait and switch.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I don't know what to do. And Jeff Quay did so much work. I think he took 5 or 7 pickle loads of stuff, picking all the stuff. He had to drive a couple hours out of his way each time to do this. And the value that we got probably won't even cover his gas.
Yeah.
But that was one of the unfortunate things that happened. So I do apologize. Is Jeff here? Jeff, he usually shows up. Jeff Quay? Okay, well, anyhow, yes, that was an unfortunate situation, but I feel like I got bamboozled into taking that particular estate.
Well, Pat, just so we can talk about the other side of all this, I do know that if I had a quick demise and Jobeth was stuck with all my crap, that knowing there was a resource for her to call would certainly help her through that horrible mountain. I don't know if that's really the role we want to take on or not, but we are in an interesting spot in our hobby. We don't have as many people coming in as are, if you will, going out, checking out. And that's probably going to continue because we don't have a next generation that saw grandma's radio. And don't have net. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of surplus stuff coming on the market. We all see that in lower values of radios. But as a group, we do have an interesting opportunity to be able to ascertain what's junk and what isn't. And most folks don't. Most spouses don't. Most kids don't when they get their, when each of you passes, who's going to take care of your mountain of crap? So I think that it's not a bad conversation to be having here, and see if we might want to change our charter just a little bit. Maybe not. I guess you don't change charters, but change. There's an option to talk about here, a service that we might want to consider providing. As an example, if we put the estate at the top of the list instead of us, we might go to a grieving widow who has all of that crap to deal with and give her a list of the good places she could take her radios, some of her radios, give her some ideas of where the folks are that can auction them off and get her the best value out of them possible. If you go to us, you're not going to get the most value on any of our auctions, right? But to a bigger picture, there may be a better choice there. And then give her the option of, okay, all the drigs and drags, maybe we have an option here where you could potentially, we can figure out a way to have a path to a recycler for you and perhaps participate in some fashion with it. You know, we can clean it all out. We can, I know that's a lot of work. That may not be a role we want, but that may be a service that we can do to help further the interest in radios, make sure stuff doesn't get thrown away that we'd rather not see thrown away, but also to have a path for this so guys like Dan Howard and all the rest who end up, and you, Pat, who end up with all this crap, have a quick way of disposing of it, a plan for that, for how do we get it to a landfill? How do we sort through it and just not over worry about selling it all? We know it's going to be crap. Go ahead and just put it in a pile. And, you know, we got a couple members in our club who would take trailers full of that stuff and dig through it and recycle it for us. We'd have a path that might make it a little less onerous. But I think it's a service that needs to be out there. Maybe we don't want to take it on as a club, but I think we as a club probably could do it justice in ways no one else can. And it sort of feels like a useful thing for each of us as club members as we age out. Anyway, just the other side of the issue.
Yeah.
Well,
very well said.
Yeah.
And metal prices are going up for a recycle.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking that too, Pat. Oh, go ahead, Don. Anyway, I was just thinking that too, Pat. I don't know. There is that option. It's something that, like what I was saying, and Ed and Blake were talking about our charter, whatever, that way too. But then along with what Cliff was saying, if we did have, and then here's this widow, here's someone's past, now here's all this stuff, and some of it might be good, some of it might be junk. And then if we were to take all the stuff that just looks like, you know, broken speakers, bare chassis, all this stuff that looks like that no one's going to want, you know. And if we did take it and then just, we do have some resources, like for instance, Damon Van he recycles all this stuff. Instead of even taking it to the auction, we could just take it right over there, give it to him, you know, and you can tell, I mean, you can tell what stuff someone's going to, you can say to yourself, is this something that I'd want to bid on or not? Or is this something that's not going to, just going to be a no sale? Some of the things that are tough to get rid of though, now that's all the metal items, but the tough ones to get rid of are like the wooden cabinet consoles that have the veneer peeling off and part of the the wood missing and knobs gone and then something that nobody's gonna want. I mean, it's just like a junker, you know, console. And then, so then you have that big wood cabinet to get rid of. So, you know, it's a tough play or tough situation that way.
So Mike, what do you think? Maybe a committee to address this? Because I think Christian would also take a lot of the metal stuff, but if we just automatically give it to Damien or
Well,
Damon,
no.
I don't think that's fair to Christian. I
No,
think
it's not.
maybe
You're right.
we should
That's
have
right.
it so that maybe what we can do is create a committee and say, okay, if you want to recycle metal, copper, whatever, then contact us and we'll put you on the list. And somehow we're going to have to figure out a fair way to divvy up all the stuff that's out there.
Right, right. No, I agree. Not just, I was using Damon as an example, but, but yeah, Christian or someone else that might want it. I mean, that's only fair. But the real problem I see on this whole thing, I mean, that'd be nice if this stuff was all metal stuff that we had to get rid of. But the thing that makes it really tough, and where you start talking about throwing stuff in the dumpster, is some of these wooden consoles that are, I mean, really bad to the point where no one can even restore them, you know, or want to, because the value of the consoles, as everyone knows, has gone way down. So what are you going to do about getting rid of that?
Well, I have a sawzall. I have a sawzall and a dumpster.
Yeah.
And you just have to determine, you know, some of these things that don't get auctioned off. I even still have some that I was given, I guess, of some of the auctions even a year ago, and I haven't disposed of them because I plan on taking them to Aurora because they seem like they're of value. Somebody else at those particular auctions just didn't value or want them, but there's still stuff that I don't think should be thrown away. I mean, so I'm giving it more of an option. I'm storing stuff now that, like I said, I plan to bring it to Aurora and put it on the free table and hope not to see it again. Because it's kind of stuff I don't want to throw away, or I don't want to bust it up and recycle it, because it seems like it holds, you know, value that it's kind of hard to throw away something that you know is worth something. And but as far as the big councils and stuff like that, if it was organized that, hey, this is just junk, I'd just bring a sawzall and hack it up there and then, you know, take it home as junk. But I don't need to be the person that is going after metal recycling. If Damien can handle it all, that's fine with me. If he has the capacity to recycle all of it, I don't mind at all. I was just there for, I guess you'd say, the helper also.
So should junk be passed over the free table before you actually junk it?
I think it's a good
That's what
idea.
I'm gonna do. I just think that free table, a lot of people, you start picking at it, and it's like, if it was free, you see something on it like Pat did last time. I was interested in a speaker, and he says, well, you gotta take the whole box.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll dispose of this chassis and see what I can get out of the chassis, but I wanted the speaker. So I had to all or nothing.
Somebody might see an interstage transformer they want that's on a chassis, so they have to take the whole chassis.
Yeah,
Bruce, I like that. Bruce, I like that idea, is that we pass everything through the free table, and then there is a standing rule that if you bring stuff for the free table, you have to take it home if no one picks it up. I mean, that's already out there.
I'm not too sure how much that's adhered to.
Well, but that could be fixed. If we sort of get ourselves organized, we can say, okay, at the end of every auction, we're going to have a trash bash. And it's equivalent thereof. And it's just somebody brings a pickup and all the remains go to Damon's. I mean, it doesn't have to be that everybody has to take the crap home. You can pick through it and use whatever you want. We'd have a path to get rid of it so that folks don't have to store that old stuff, or don't have to take it home if you don't want it.
Yeah.
Well, we basically do that when we have the trailer out there, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking this could be part of our process for an auction. We'll just have a plan for a mini trash bash at the end of it, so that nobody has to take that crap home. If you want to pick through and pull a piece off of some component there and not pick the whole chassis, so be it. Let the chassis go back to Damon. But something like that could simplify our world. Dan, would something of like that have helped you at all in this last auction?
Who is the question for?
Dan Howard.
Oh,
Yeah, that model works great for me, and it gives, you know, every opportunity for folks to keep stuff out of the landfill. So.
Yeah.
okay. I think what I should do, Cliff, is I'll send out a memo or an email looking for people who are willing to take it. And then Damon's the only one, then that's fine. But I don't want to favor one person over another. And we'll just have to figure out a fair way. If more than one person is willing to take the stuff, we'll have to figure out a fair way to divvy it up.
Then, yeah, again, though, I think it's a tough deal, you know, I think, but then I think if you go to an estate and Pat, and then you look at it and you have to kind of use some common sense as far as if there are some nice items along with some junk, then maybe, you know, doing that sort of a thing is fine. You know, if we're going to get something that the members will be able to bid on and something of value. If the whole thing, if the entire estate is nothing but, because I saw one like this several years ago, and it had been, stuff was stored out in a barn that leaked and everything had gotten wet. And I mean, there was nothing there of any value at all to anyone. And so we just passed on the whole thing. And I think that's what needs to happen there at that point. So, because I mean, yeah, you can do that to help somebody out, but then again, it isn't our, like Ed and I were saying, or when I first said, it isn't our job to be recyclers either. I mean, if we're going to get some nice items or some good items along with this stuff, I think then that's not too bad. We can maybe absorb the stuff, and then we have an outlet like Damon and some of those types of things to get rid of it. Fine. But then we should also have some nice items that were going to be auctioned too, but not the entire estate. If the entire estate has just been ruined, like, you know, from water damage and, you know, the veneers peeling off every cabinet. I mean, there's nothing really there at all. Then I don't think that's something that we need to take as a club. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah. Hey, Pat.
Yeah.
I appreciate the decisions you have to make when you see this stuff, but you know, you maybe you ought to try to make sure there's at least a second member with you so you can discuss it between yourselves. But it all boils down to a judgment call. Is the cost of moving and disposing of the junk stuff going to exceed the revenue the club may make from the good stuff? And I would not take any of it if you got a whole bunch of junk and a few things, because we're going to end up spending a lot of time and in some cases money disposing of the junk. That's the way I look at it.
True. But a lot of the stuff that's been done by Dan and Esteban is all voluntary basis, and they are doing this without any compensation. So regarding your question, on all the estates, there has always been at least one other person to go look and pick up stuff, always. It's never been, you know, unless it's a onesie twosie thing. For example, we have one item that's a Grundig Model 55 that's going to be picked up by another member because they're out that way and they volunteered. But we do need people to step up, because I'm tired, to be frank with you, I'm really tired of doing this with just a few people that seem to volunteer. I think people, if they want to help the society, they need to step up and say, I'm willing to go out and look at stuff and surmise the estate and, you know, make a decision. But we don't really have a lot of volunteers helping out in a lot of the areas. As you guys know, whenever we ask for help, it's always the same people time and time again.
I just want to make a reminder, Pat and everybody, that part of the hesitancy to get involved is probably because of this COVID-19 thing. I mean, not that many people want to go out and do things and go and get involved in these things with this situation. It might get a little bit better when it gets over, whenever that happens.
Okay.
Maybe,
I mean, that's a big if.
maybe it would be worthwhile to query the membership to see why they do not wish to do that. In my case, it's my level of knowledge is nowhere near most of you guys, but a lot of the stuff that gets tossed I might find interesting if I knew about it ahead of time. So when you put out the request for assistance, the newer members or those that are still employed may not actually step forward because they're hesitant to embarrass themselves or anything like that. Just for what it's worth.
Oh, good points.
I kind of wonder if some of those objections could be handled with email conversations.
Sure.
Just throw that out.
Okay, I can create an email and have people respond to that.
I think another thing, Pat, is the location of this stuff, where the people live and depending on where the members are. And I think if you had asked for volunteers, for instance, I went over here to that one bunch of people and looked at the stuff was in Beaverton, and that's great for me or Lyles or someone down here. But, I'm not going to volunteer to go inspect an estate up in Battleground, so that's probably better for someone that lives up in your area. So I think logistically that's something to take into account. Ask somebody if they wouldn't mind going over and looking at an estate if it's near where they live. You may get some good responses that way.
That's a good idea. Let's map out the longer term members geographically, and Pat can go to those people if they're closer to the estate.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. And one thing on the estate planning disposal that Cliff brought up, and, other people are thinking or talking about, is I think as club members, we should be thinking about what would happen to my collection, my estate, if something were to unexpectedly happen to me, so that we don't leave our spouses or our family, kind of running around not knowing what to do. So I think that the recommendation I would have to club members would be to work with their families, create a spreadsheet and perhaps some kind of evaluation price range on what they think the item might sell for. So that way that, your spouse or your family's not caught off guard.
That's a good point, Pat, but I'm not too sure how human nature fits in with that. I mean, we don't always plan these things. And we don't always, and sometimes when we get into some situations where health is involved, you're past the point of being able to do anything because of health reasons.
Sure.
I don't like to say that, but you read about it in the paper every day.
Well, Lyle, I think it's a pretty good bet that you're not going to last forever.
Cliff, you're right, but I'm not ready to think about that yet.
So Lyles, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. If something unexpectedly were to happen to you, does your family, does your spouse know what to do with your estate, with the stuff that you have? Or
Yes.
So you will have it all in plan. Okay, great.
Well, I think we do. That's famous last word. I've only got 100 shortwave receivers, but we'll figure out, we'll go from there.
Okay, good, good. All right, does anyone else have any other plans or ideas on this estate planning or any other new business?
Pat, before, further up on the meeting, you were asking about the phone number to Mike Miller.
Right, yeah, you can give that to me offline later.
Do you want it now?
No, that's okay. I don't want to interfere with, regular business because, we have a few other things we want to take care of.
Okay, all right, we'll carry on then.
Okay. If there is no other new business or any comments on the estate planning and disposal, I'd like to turn it over to Franklin for the monthly feature.
And the monthly feature is P. So who has their P radios?
I'll bet there's a lot of Philcos.
Yeah, I've got a Philco, but it's too big to put up on the screen here.
Well, I brought a small Philco so I could put it up in the screen. So
Go ahead,
I can
Larry.
start, I guess.
A real
This
small
is
one.
my Philco Transitone, little AC 5-tube AC DC set. I got it at one of our swap meets actually, and I cleaned up the case, and it had the speaker cone. I've never seen this before, but the outside of the speaker came unglued from the frame, so I glued that back on. But the only problem I had was the volume control had disintegrated, and so I took one out of another set, but the other set was set with the vertical control or the volume control vertically. So anyway, this turns backwards to turn on and turn off, and I've never been able to find the right one to put in there, but it does work pretty darn good. And it's a nice looking little set. It had a hole in the top of it.
Oh,
You
wow.
can't really see it, but I patched
Wow.
it
Nice.
with
That's nice.
epoxy. And I put some paint in the epoxy to sort of match the color, and it did pretty good. And you can't really get a see it
That
in the
looks,
light.
that looks really nice, Larry.
It does look
Yeah.
nice.
Larry, what's the model number of that?
Oh, it's 46200. And you might recognize this case because they made this case pre-war too. So
Huh. Beautiful.
it might have, and Mike, I read your thing on the Philco tubes, and I was looking into this, and it has actual Philco tubes in it. It still it says Philco, and it's a combination of loctals and octals. So it's not just
Right.
that tube, kind of like what you were talking about.
Hey, Larry,
Hybrid.
Yes.
if you find out the resistance on that pot and switched pot, and then what kind of shaft it has, half round or quarter round, and then or split spline, whatever it is, maybe put it on the leads and needs on the collet or something like that. Someone might have another one that you could put in there and then make it so the thing switches correctly.
Well, isn't this a left-hand radio?
Well, it came out of a left-hand radio.
That's good.
Just since I have another one, except this one is a transistor.
Ooh.
And as I mentioned last time, my father-in-law who passed away had a ton of transistors, and this is a Philips. And I think it's about a 7 transistor set. I think it's mid 60s, just AM band, but
Wow.
it runs on 2 AA batteries, and it sounds like a pocket-sized transistor. They don't have the best sound in them, but that works pretty well. You know, these old sets, the early transistors, the pot would usually get pretty noisy on them, and that was certainly the case with this, but I disassembled it and cleaned it, and now it sounds pretty good until it gets noisy again.
Mhm.
Great. Yeah, I keep a transistor radio on my workbench. I get a radio that's not playing or something like that, and you can take an AM transistor radio and then boost the get it tuned at like 455 above what your set is at. Then you can run that back and forth, the knob, the tuner back and forth, and you'll get that going. You'll get a whoop 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 out of it if your oscillator is functioning. Just to check an oscillator real quick with a transistor radio works real good.
Good idea. Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Without hooking a signal generator up or nothing. You just grab your transistor, put it up there, and then, you know, dial the tuner up above, like if it's a 455 IF, you tune it that much above what your radio is at that you're trying to test, and then you can get that thing real quick test. Anyway,
Hey, who wants to go next?
I
Anybody
got
else
one.
with- Okay, Mike.
Let's see here. This is a Philco Model 60. Let's see if you can see that. You guys, can you see all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Model 60, I bought this up at the last sale that we were able to go to in Seattle. And it's kind of interesting. These are a Model 60, which is a 5-tube transformer set. I went through and restored it, plays real good. It's got several Bakelite blocks to redo. The interesting part is someone had changed the speaker in it. So it's not a factory Philco speaker. However, the field coil and output transformer on it and everything are all correct or close enough. You know, it's kind of like horseshoes, hand grenades. It plays just fine with this speaker in there. And restored it. It plays very well. Went through and I redid the cabinet and then put new replacement grill cloth in it and stuff like that. So
That's really clean.
playing Model 60.
Wow.
Really nice.
Oh, the other thing I did, I forgot to say, the other thing I did too on it, and I do this on quite a few radios. I've got it advertised on the Radio Attic, but I put a Bluetooth or external connection on it that comes right off the wiper on the volume control. So you can plug in your MP3 player, whatever, into that radio. And I've been doing that on quite a few sets. It seems to work very well.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, who's next?
I'll be right back.
I see Dan's got a radio there. You need to unmute yourself, Dan. There we go.
This is a Paragon Type 3. It's a 3-tube regen battery set made in the early 20s, probably about 23, right in there. It's beautifully put together with bus bar, square bus bar wiring and the whole thing. It came to me from the Joe Nomura estate. The only problem it had, some of the bus bar has to be resoldered, but the main tuning knob was missing. And it took forever and a day to find that knob, but we have it, and it's a very, very nice piece.
And your sound is pretty muffled. You got something over the microphone?
Yeah, Franklin commented on that this morning, and I don't have a clue. I spent about the first 10 minutes of the meeting trying to change things, so appreciate whatever advice people can do. I couldn't see anything on the control panel to change anything. So. Okay. This one is also a Paragon. This is an RD5. It's a 1-tube regen battery set. Again, it's from the early 20s. And this also came from Joe Nomura. Very happy with this set. Interestingly, I have another one. Have two of the RD5s. So if somebody has something, a choice to trade, I would trade one of the sets to for in addition to our collection.
And what's the model number of that again?
RD5.
Say that again.
It's an RD5.
Got it. Okay.
Delta 5. Okay. And
okay, thanks.
Just a couple of quick ones. This is a PAL crystal set made in Jersey City. It has a sheet metal chassis and a Bakelite frame for the tuning coil, and instructions right on the back. So what could go wrong?
Cute.
Yeah, it really is cute. We think that this came from Jerry Talbot's collection back in the day. And then one final piece. I heard today that the theme was going to be P radios. So there you go. Got you all squared away.
Great clever.
Thanks so much, Dan. That's great.
I don't know that anybody can outdo that.
I wonder how many of those were made.
Not many. You can only flush once and the radio will quit.
There are actually a few of them made in actually different colors. Some people collect them. I think I once saw on the web 5 or 6 different colors. I got that one, just because, but back in the day, a local ham, Roy Lowry, had a store down on 82nd near where Eastport is today called A1 Electric. Roy was a great friend of the family, helped Dad build his house basically, and Roy was a huge promoter. He would come up with the craziest stuff to promote his plumbing and electrical supply store, A1 Electric. And I know that if Roy had known that there was a toilet radio, by golly, he would have had them by the gross to get away with his customers.
Okay, anybody else? So that looks like that finishes our feature of the month. Thanks to Larry, Mike, Dan, and Dick. Thank you guys very much. And I give it back to you, Pat.
Okay, next up, we've got Lyles. Do we have anything on the minutes for April?
Yes, the minutes for the April meeting are published in the May call letter. If there's if there's no additions or corrections, we could make a motion to approve the minutes as published.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We're good.
The minutes are approved as published in the May call letter. Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Thanks, Lyles.
Next up is Ed, Treasury Report.
As of April 30th, the Jim Mason Fund has climbed to a little over $49,000.
Wow.
And our cash on hand is about $7,500. And Pat asked me to share with you what the auction brought in. The Hunker estate generated $1,750, of which the club got $350. And that Jacobson donation stuff was $69. But I think most of what came with that went away somewhere. Is that right, Pat?
Yep, unfortunately.
Any questions on the finances, folks?
Looking good.
Nope, looking good. Thanks, Ed.
You know, it's hard to do wrong at this time with the stock market going crazy. Let me see. I've made some payments here. Nothing significant. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Next up, Dawn, you want to report anything on the call letter?
I don't have anything new. It was, I think we had a good issue the last time though. And I appreciate people's input. There are a lot of good material, you know, like really well done material came in. It's important. I hope we don't have to do issues like that too often. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Don. All right.
I was going to say, we probably will have a tribute for Bill DeVay in an upcoming issue. Bill was, I believe, a previous president of our club and an employee at Tech. So if you have any information to share that Bill and just send it my way, I'd certainly appreciate it.
You know, I really appreciated Dick Carmen's write-up about Dick Bixler. That was really, really well done.
Nice.
Kudos.
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with that. That was very well done. Thank you.
Don Copeland's picture on the front was really good too. I was glad to have something like that to put on the cover.
All right. If there's nothing else, we'll go to the Tech Talk. Rami and Mark.
All right.
I'll
Can
give
you
it
let me share my screen?
Yep. I'll make you the host there, Mark.
Okay.
You should be the host now.
Okay, there we go. Oh, it's telling me I can't share my desktop for some reason. Let's see. It's giving me permissions to asking me if I want to record.
Yes.
Allow my screen to record. Well, it's asking me if I'm going to allow my screen to record, actually. I've got to go through my preferences here. Hang on a second. I have to permit the recording Zoom to Zoom will not be able to record the contents of my screen until it is quit. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm going to leave and come back. I'll be right back. Oh, I got to give you back the host, actually, Franklin.
Okay.
For some reason, we should have done this before because I can't. My Mac is pretty locked down.
Okay.
I'm trying to find you to give it back to you. Where are you in this list? Let's see.
Can't you just go up to the top?
I should. Well, I used to be on the top. As host, you're on the top.
I have a special. It's a pop-up window that I've got to find you. There you are.
Okay.
Assign.
Okay, he's gone.
while he's doing that, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Did everything start on time at 9:30 or did I not get the link in my email, or was everybody on at 9:30 except for me?
Okay.
Pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
And then I'm gonna send you, Lyles, I'll go ahead and send you an email of the minutes that I took. And then basically it was from about 9:30 to 10, about approximately 10. I'm not sure exactly when you came on board.
That's close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Email them to me later today or whenever, and I'll add mine.
Yeah, sounds good.
Hey, is Cliff still there? Is Cliff still on the Zoom meeting?
I think he popped out.
Okay.
There you go, Mark. You got you're sharing your screen
Good.
there. Okay, still got me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Still here.
So when we're ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, cool. Well, Pat asked Robbie and I to put together a little presentation on getting started with ham radio, some of the very initial basics to inform folks who don't really know much about ham radio of how to get started, and maybe a little about how to get a station going. And so that's kind of our topic for today. Certainly there's quite a few people in our club who are experienced hams, like Robbie, and have a long history of participating in the hobby. And we can all pretty well chew the fat for a long time about lots of different topics, but today we'll just look at getting started, and perhaps we can find some more topics for talks like this in the future about ham radio. So Robbie, I'm gonna ask some questions, and we'll let Robbie field the answers. And so the first question coming up, Robbie, is kind of two parts. First part is, what is amateur radio, and where do you fit in ham radio? What kinds of things do you like about the hobby? And why don't you give us a little bit of info about yourself and what you like about ham radio?
Okay, I started ham radio back in 1971, and as a novice or a technician. And back then you had to use a Morse code to get your license. Well, I had a very difficult time with Morse code, but I finally caught it, and I got 15 words a minute, and then I got my tech license, then my general, and then back in about 1980, I got my extra class. And so I've been extra class for quite a while, and I had to bail out there for a while because of different family issues and things. So I got back into it, and I've been in it ever since, and I like it real well. It's very interesting to get out and talk to people locally around the area, and talk to people clear over in the ocean. I talked to friends of mine in Hawaii, in Germany, France, Italy, all over, everywhere. And it's a very interesting hobby. And it's not difficult to get into it. I mean, you have to do some testing to get into your license and everything, tech, general, and extra class. So that's part of it there. So, okay, Mark, what else do you want to?
So Robbie, the next question I have for you is, how do I build a station? If I'm new to this, how do I build a station and get started in this hobby?
Okay, ARRL. There's a picture of me on my radio station there, if you can see that one. That's
nice.
Yeah, that's quite a big setup. And ARRL gives you in their book, their big manual they got, how to set up a station. And the safety thing on this thing is when it's electrical system, So when you hook up all your equipment, make sure that all your outlets on your set are set up for like 12 gauge wiring or whatever. So I got a 12 gauge wiring on my setup and a 10 gauge wiring for my 1000-watt transmitter, which is a 3-phase, not a 3-phase, but a 2-phase transmitter circuit. So you got to be real careful about your electrical system, because I've seen some systems burn up because people overloaded their circuit and didn't use the right type of wiring. And because a lot of times you don't know in your house what kind of wiring you have until you inspect it. That's what I did before I built my station. And you need to be, like I say, real careful with the safety features and everything on it. But in that, you have to have a license. At that picture there, I had my extra class license. And I have there's two radios there. You can see in the picture, and the antenna tuners and other stuff that go along with it. And I have a tower out in the backyard that I use for long distance and short distance DXing and all that other stuff that goes along with it. There's different types of setups you can do. Everybody has a different way of setting up their stations. Some people have just one radio. Some people have multiple radios. Like I know a friend of mine in Wisconsin, he has 6 ICOM radios and about 7 or 8 Yaesus that he uses for his stuff. And he has multiple towers on his station. I think 4 or 5 different towers, and he ranges from like 10 watts. Some of the channels you can use it with 10 watts. The long distance stations he uses 1,000 watts. And there's a variety of different things. You know, everybody has a different taste for setting up their stations. And I didn't get into much into CW, but some of my friends I know that have their station, they do a lot of CW, which it's kind of interesting. I did CW for a while, but I kind of got back out of it. I got into, as I got my extra class, they asked me if I wanted to take another test, which is a VE test, which I do. The first Sunday of every month. Not lately because of the COVID thing, but we have a place over here off of 82nd and King Road that the people let us use their room for doing VE testing. So I test people, and sometimes we have maybe 5 people. Sometimes we have 20 people come. So it keeps busy doing the VE testing. It's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to get on the air and talk to people all over the country. And especially, I feel like it's when you put your own station together, you feel like you've accomplished something, and it's kind of different than using a cell phone. And but ham radio to me has been a very interesting. It's I didn't have to spend a lot of money on the equipment. I've found some of the ham radios that have died in the past. The radios were up for sale, so it's you can buy radios almost half the price you can of a new one. So it's quite an interesting hobby. Okay, Mark.
All right, Robbie. So the next question I got for you is, what is the difference between ham radio and amateur radio?
Okay, that's pretty simple to answer that. Ham radio and amateur radio are exactly the same thing, except ham means that it's back in the history of the ham radio people, those people were considered low-class people that didn't have much money, and they were poor people and everything. But the amateur radio people, I don't like to, separate poor people from rich people, but anything. But amateur radio people are more educated. They've went to took classes. They've got their license. They've just advanced themselves a lot more in amateur radio. And some of the people that were in the ham radio side of it were old telegraphers who did, they were just kind of a lower end of the radio. But amateur radio is a higher end where people get into like ICOM radios, Jesus, all different kinds.
Sure, it's pretty interesting, Robbie. When I was looking for a slide about this, one of the slide here that I ran into was written by an editor of this Railroad Telegrapher magazine, and this is the first instance I found in print. Not, I have to admit, I didn't look everywhere, but I thought it was interesting that the word ham really showed up in here as new telegraphers who come out of telegrapher school who weren't yet competent to actually work in railroad or communication telegraphy. They just weren't inefficient about it and didn't have much ability. And it was ability related, right? And I'm sure that as they proceeded in their careers, they got a lot better. But that ham-fisted kind of, new code user just kind of,
I was wondering,
they picked up that name of ham and it stuck, and stuck with the amateur community as well. It's kind of interesting. And as you said, the amateurs became more sophisticated, like this fellow here who's a silent key, Joe. And yeah, quite a sophisticated system here. But I would definitely put this guy and this fellow in the upper end of the build it yourself amateur community for sure.
And I was just wondering about how much would a guy pay for a cabin?
So next question I have, Robbie, let me see if I can find my mouse here. Is how difficult is it to become a ham radio operator?
Dave, can you mute?
I didn't quite hear you, Mark.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah, we've got a conversation going on over us. So Robbie, the question,
nothing else in it.
Can you mute him, Franklin?
He wants $50 for it. Okay. So
You're the host. You have to mute him.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I can't get back to that screen. Let me see.
I told him I'd come over tomorrow to pick it up. I told him
Dave.
I'd go today because
I'll get it. I got it.
You got it?
There we
Okay,
go. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I got to go back a screen here. So Robbie, let me see. I guess I jumped a bunch of screens. How difficult is it to become a ham operator?
Well, it's not really difficult at all. I mean, you've got all these modern, excuse me, all these new modern day books for Tech General and Extra Class. You can get from HRO, or you can go online to QRZ and go to the library, or they're minimal cost, and take the test. Like I was just mentioning a while back, I do VE testing over here in Clackamas area. And no, it's not difficult at all. Even though you may not have a electrical background or anything, using these books and going to the library and doing the resources and on the ARR book pages and stuff, and tech books, QRZ test online, it's not really that difficult. The only thing was in the past is I had trouble with some of my friends too with getting the code, Morse code. It took me forever, but that code is not necessary now. But you can still take it if they still excuse me, teach it now if you want it, but most people don't use code anymore. So that's pretty well it for you know. So to me, the word difficult is not really in there. It's just you just have to study and you do a little exercise, because it took me about a month to do my tech, another month to do my general, and then maybe an extra class. It took me a couple months to do it. So anyway, all this stuff is online. You can just do a self-test on QRZ, and you can get your license hardly no time at all.
So what kind of content is in the technician license test? I mean, content like rules and technical content like electricity, Ohm's law, things like that? Or are they in the technician test?
Yeah, the technician test, they ask you questions about voltage, amps, ohms, watts, different things, which are the frequencies you can work on, the power you can use, just a lot of different questions in there that I don't quite remember, but yeah.
And then they increase in difficulty, right? I mean, like if in the extra class test, you'll have to identify things in schematic diagrams and things like that.
Yeah, they have a lot of different formulas that you have. When I took my extra class, I had 6 formulas I had to figure out. But nowadays they have all those formulas in there, and then they got all the satellite formulas. They got your space station stuff going on. They got all kinds of different things going on in that space program. So it's all it's all in there if you just want to read the book.
That's great, Robbie. So next up, I have a question. We kind of talked about it a little bit already, but are there different levels of ham radio operators? And I think the question was really about, you know, technician general and extra classes of licenses. But
yeah, there there is the technician. If you're a technician, usually when I was a technician, I didn't stay there very long. I only stayed about a couple of months, and then I went to general, because when the higher you go in general and extra, the frequency bands expand out, and you get to use more of the band. It's a wider band out, and you have all different kinds of. Let's see. I had. There was let's see, wait a minute. Okay. Yeah, you can know, you go to Tech General Extra class, you have HF bands, VHF bands, UHF bands, CW. You have all different frequencies you can use, like 2 meters, 6 meters, 10 meters, 12, 15, 17, 20, 30, 40, 68, and 160 meters you can use. So that's the different levels you can be using on your radio.
sure, we'll take a look at that in a minute. Yeah, thanks, Robbie. That was great. So how much does equipment cost for ham radio?
Well, the getting the technical started, the books prepare materials are free, but some of the equipment is $100. The testing fee is $15. Some of the low cost handheld radios, or the table model radios, the bigger ones, some start at 100, some 250. Then you get up to your bigger HF radios. Like if you want to build a base station, the radios can be from $500 to $2,000 sometimes. And it depends on what radio you want. I started out on a handheld radio that I got for
But you can go crazy. You can go crazy, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can totally go crazy and, buy your acre and a half of land and whatever your banker will allow, right?
Yeah, and if you want to buy 10 acres of land behind your house and put up about 10, 12 antennas, which were probably, $10,000 a piece or something like that. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So it's pretty much you can begin, and there's a lot of ham radio that people assemble their radios from components, and not a lot anymore. Everybody in this age is pretty used to using appliances of one kind or another, and so ham radio is no exception. But there are folks out there who like to build and make things from components. And
yeah, I know some guys that built 1,000-watt transmitters using that 4-1000 tubes. Those things, and there's some of the other guys. They build their own antennas. They're different kinds. Some guys do a lot of metal work with welding and everything, and build these huge, big, tall antennas. Yeah, it can be expensive, but still, if you look around and find some of these places that people are selling their stuff, because some of the guys have passed away and their equipment is for half price or whatever. So yeah, it depends. Or you can buy a brand new radio at HRO for $15,000 if you have that much money in your pocket.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then you can buy these handheld radios if you want to do that. Or you can buy mobile radios that go in your vehicles, and buy these antennas that are mounted on the vehicle. So that's another thing. You get mobile radios too, are real good.
So it kind of depends on your license and your privileges and which bands you want to use your radio on, right?
Yeah.
Because there are different kinds of radios for different bands. And so let's take a look at that question next. The next question is, what frequencies do ham radio use? And so let's take a look at the band plans here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's band is quite extensive. There's quite a few things on there. You got your low frequency, medium frequency, and your high frequency. And very high, your VHF, your UHF, your super high frequency, extra high frequencies. Yeah, there's the ones that I kind of use. I don't know about anybody else, but I use the 2 meters for a handheld radio. This 6 meters, 10 meters, 12 meters, 15, 17, 20, 30, 40, 80, 160 meters. That depends on your what your grade level is. Technicians usually use 2 meters, maybe 10 meters. And then when you go up to general, you can go to 12, 15, and 20. And then extra class, you go all the way to 60, 80, and 160. So it's quite a big area. And yeah, it goes, the charts shows that you can go to 10 meters, 17, 40, 20, 12, 60, 80, 30, 15, 160. So it just depends on what if you're a technician, general, or extra class. So there you go.
I will add a little note here that a couple of years ago, the international organization, the ITU, that manages bands, and the U.S. in this region actually added a couple of new bands to the spectrum for amateurs. One in low frequency, way down at 2,200 meters, at 135 kilohertz, low power, and another at 630 meters, or around 472 kilohertz. And it's interesting, you have to actually apply to the Utilities Technology Council to, they do a survey of your antenna location relative to power lines, because these frequencies are used by the power company to send signals through high tension lines. So if you're too close, you would cause them interference. But if you're far enough away from the power line, you can actually, they've added these bands and frequencies, which is kind of interesting. And then, of course, something that most amateurs don't really work with are this super and extremely high frequency bands. It'd be good if more people could start using them. They're up in the microwave region. And of course, these are right picking for cell phone companies, especially 5G. And there's a lot of activity and lobbying going on to take these away from amateurs. But yeah, it's, the spectrum available to amateurs is amazingly broad and covers just about everybody's interest, I think. So let's see. Next question I have for you, Robbie, is what kind of range do ham radios have?
Okay, it depends on the ionosphere and your what kind of bands that you're working on, tech, general, or extra class, or VHF or UHF. It depends on your propagation, your type of equipment you have. If you have a low wattage transmitter or a high wattage transmitter, depends on the distance you can go. The terrain that you're in, if you're in a valley or somewhere and you need an antenna that's high enough to go over the terrain around you where you're at, if you're in a valley, and you need a good, like I said, you need a good antenna. If you're up on the hillside, you don't need what you call a real tall antenna, but a tall one always works real good. And it's your wattage level of your transmitters. You can go from some places have a like 40 meters during the day. They will have a 5-watt transmitter test. How far you can go on 5 watts. And then there's others like you want to go to Hawaii or somewhere, you can use 1,000 watts and get over there real well, no problem. So, yeah, if you want to go to Europe, you can. A lot of the guys use these high-tech beam antennas, triple beam antennas, and then you got your new fancy ones that are a step antenna that changes frequencies on the antenna itself. So that gives you a lot more range.
So what, Robbie, what kind of distances have you gotten with your radio? What's your farthest contact, do you think?
My farthest one, I think, is over in Germany and France and Italy, those areas. And I had quite a few contacts with Japanese people over there. And Hawaii is not much of a challenge because it's a direct route between our coast and Hawaii. So, but it's real easy to get to. But yeah, over in Europe is about the farthest I got. And there was one time when I picked up a signal from people that were transmitting off of around the Arctic Circle up north. So that was a real interesting one. And yeah, it just depends on your propagation, the weather conditions. Sometimes when you have go through a meteor shower, it'll affect your transmissions. Electrical storms. I've had a lot of problems with electrical storms sometimes. When I've had to, I'm talking on the radio, I have to disconnect my antennas. I got a quick disconnect from them so the lightning won't zap into the radios. So yeah. So you just it's all all this stuff and is all involved and how far you can go with your range on your radio.
That's pretty interesting, Rob. You know, my experience with my 100-watt transmitter is my longest calls have been about 12 to 14,000 miles. I pretty much am able to cover with my dipole wire antenna in the backyard the entire Pacific Rim, including Australia, Vietnam, China, Asiatic Russia. The wall on the East Coast, getting to Europe is doable. I've done Europe. In this background image here, there's the line between day and night. And along that line at the right times, your signal will follow that day-night terminator line. It's called the gray line effect. And I have often had communications with folks in South Africa. For some reason, that line from Oregon to South Africa just opens up, and you can talk to them for about maybe 20 minutes to an hour. And it's pretty regular. It's surprising. It's actually very surprising, but and you can even make that kind of distance with low power digital signals too. I mean, obviously CW is a digital signal, but there are digital modes that folks are interested in. They will propagate that far easily on 25 watts.
That's good.
So I beg your pardon?
Oh, I was just going to comment. See, Hawaii is the antipode of South Africa.
Oh, interesting.
We're exactly the opposite. And yeah, so that's what's his name, Charlie or whatever. I can't think of his first name. He comes banging in here all the time. Right, it's his morning is our night, or vice versa, and it's just like a pipeline. And I was just going to comment that the ionosphere has infinite dynamic range, or nearly infinite dynamic range, where we have a limited dynamic range. So that's the big factor on variable, which makes it interesting because you don't know. Sometimes just a watt, you work around the world, and sometimes your max power barely gets through and stuff. So
that's really true, Mark. And for a while, every day I was talking to a friend of mine. His name was Ken, and he would use his station remotely from his iPad as he took the bullet train from Fukushima to Tokyo to work every day. And I could talk to him every day as he rode the train from his iPad and his earbuds on the train. That was amazing. And quite a friendship across the world you can develop sometimes if you experiment with propagation and begin to understand it. So, hey, Robbie, the next question is, thank you for that, Mark. What are some practical uses for ham radio?
Well, that's a good question. The little joke here is heating your garage with your transmitter. But yeah, you got emergency communications, and you got power outages of local disasters where people use, the hams use their generators to keep the communications open. Because I remember that flood they had over in Venonia for a while back. There was a bunch of hams were over there helping out the people, using their generators and their radios and equipment. And the community support, our club that I belong to over here in Gresham, not Gresham, but Clackamas, we do during the summer when the bicyclers ride from Portland up there, not Portland, but up to the Mount Hood and back. They have even the runners that go back and forth. We go up there with our pickups and our 2-meter radios, and we monitor every 10 miles of the road where the runners are and the bicyclists to make sure that everybody's fine. Plus the organization that runs the races, they have emergency vehicles that are parked along there too. So we're in communications with the fire department while we're up there, and all the people that run the races. So that's our community support, or support, I mean. And we have areas and races and SAR. General scheduled nets. We do a lot of nets. I know the Portland Radio Club in Portland here has their nets on, I think, Wednesday nights. Ours is on, I think, Monday night. And we have contesting. And we have 2 meter nets going on. Then we have de-axing. And then we have field days coming up in June. So that's another thing that we use for the guys, people to get together. And we go up to Larch Mountain up there in the parking lot up there. And that's where we have our field day, which works out real well. And we have Earth Space House talking between the space stations, and that works out real well. If you get in, I can't remember what the frequency is for that. I think it's 144 megahertz or something. And we have creative activities during the summer where all the hams get together and they go out for a picnic or something somewhere. And we do balloon tracking, which is interesting, and the moon bounce, and a whole bunch of other stuff involved, like let's see, what was it? The fox. I remember the one summer we had a fox hunt, which is where you take a metal box and you put some stuff in a box and bury it, and then you have to use your compass. They give you coordinates, and you have to use your compass to find this box, which was pretty good. Those fox hunts are really nice. I like and enjoy those. Okay, Mark.
All right. Our next question is about what is a call letter? Oh, no, I guess I'm wrong. Let's see. The next question here is can you talk a little about the cases under which ham radio doesn't function very well? Things that might, affect your ability to communicate.
Well, it depends on the time of day. You have that gray line that's up there. And if it's not right exactly where you want it, your communications may not be too good. And the band conditions can be affected by atmospheric interference, like lightning, different things. They have meteor showers that come in every once in a while that affect it. The one thing that I know from a friend of mine that lives in Alaska, he has trouble with what we call atmospheric conditions, or we call it the northern lights, or aurora, that affect the communications. And so he has to, when he wants to talk to somebody, he has to wait till the northern lights to go away. And he said that you can put on 1,000 watts on your transmitter, and it won't even have, the northern lights will just cut it completely to nothing. So, and you have the solar weather, the solar flares and stuff from the sun. And then I just mentioned something about meteor showers that can affect it. So, and there's a variety of different things that can happen.
There's always your equipment too, right? I mean, you could have a bad connector or a wire go bad. And
yeah, I had my coax to my antenna go bad one time because I had some, while I was gone on vacation, I unhooked everything, everything, but the static electricity got into my tower, and I got a junction box at the bottom of the tower where I have tuners in there. And the lightning hit that thing and blew one of my tuners apart.
Ooh.
But it didn't affect the tower or anything. It just hit something that was least effective, with less resistance. And yeah, I'm up here on Mount Scott, so a lot of that static electricity from this, all I have to do is have a thunderstorm go over and a little lightning bolt or something in the sky. And next thing you know, I got one of these little ball things that shows if there's static hits the tower, it'll arc across this ball to ground. And every time I have a storm come through, lightnings or thunder or something, there it is. So you just got to be careful and not let that lightning get into your radios. I don't mind if it hits the tower. I can always fix that. But a radio, it's got pretty costly to try to fix it. So, okay, well, other than that, go ahead, Mark.
All right, yeah, it's pretty hard to fix light now, circuit boards and things like that that have been burnt by lightning. They're pretty much a throw away the board thing. Right, so our next question was about what is a call letter or a call sign? And I thought one of the interesting things about that was in the early days. So here is the screenshot of Greenback's 1909 roster of ham operators. And each entry is pretty much the operator's initials or something similar, like Richard Johnstone, RJ, right? His approximate wavelength is 196, and I suppose that's meters. And his spark ignition and coil is not given there, but these guys were doing spark back in these days.
Oh, there was.
And before any real regulation by the federal government or anything, right? Oops, excuse me, my mouse is touchy. And I thought it was really interesting because it's pretty unregulated at this point. Frequencies are all over the place. And Hugo Gernsback here used these things to assemble every year something he called a blue book. And the blue book, you can find them on the Internet Archive, actually, include all kinds of things like PT for the New York Navy Yard and all kinds of different call letters for all kinds of things. Along the way somewhere, it changed from call letters to call signs. It's just popular
1912.
usage, right? What's that?
1912.
Well, right, in 1912, it was a Department of Commerce.
They had to get their license, get licenses.
Right, right. I'm not sure it changed to call sign right then, but I know it was definitely call letters. And one of my things is there are, like Robbie and my call signs, probably yours too, Mark, is a vanity call sign. And you can apply for, when you get your technician license, you're just given the sequential call sign by the FCC now. And if you want to customize your call sign letters, depending on your license class, different combinations of letters and the number represented in your call area. There are 10 in the United States. And, well, actually a couple more, but the letters and numbers denote different things in different positions. But for an extra class, for example, ours, Robbie's and mine and Mark's were 4-letter or 4-character call signs, and mine's K7MD. And as soon as I got that, I was really curious. I wondered who had that before me. Oops. And you can find these call books on the Internet Archive and look back through 100 years of call letters, of amateur radio call letters, and find who had your call sign before you, and maybe even find out some information about them. This person who had my call sign before me was a cardiac surgeon in Utah at the hospital there. And he used ham radio to support the LDS missionaries around the world. So, and that's kind of interesting to find that stuff out. At least from my perspective, I kind of like that. Do you have any comments about call letters, Robbie?
Well, for mine, when I first got my tech, I had 6 6 digits, just, I don't remember all the 6 of them, but every time I tried to call somebody, I'd have to rattle off all 6 of those digit numbers. And I got tired of that. So when I got my general license, I went to 5, 5 letters. And then I used that for about 2-3 years, and I got tired of that. So I decided, well, I'll just go to 4. And after I went to 4, I used that for quite a few years. But when I first went to 4, everybody says, what happened to your old license? I said, well, I got me a new one now. So I had to tell about over 100 people I know my new call sign, because when they call me on the old call sign, they wouldn't get me. So it took a while for me to get all my guys I usually call back on the Norway Golf 7 uniform number. So it's 4 numbers is a lot easier to rattle off than the 6 of them. So that's why I went to 4. So.
And it costs a little bit to do that, right? You have to apply and go through this process with the FCC to get a vanity call sign.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't have any expense, anything, money to involve in it back then. But now I guess it is. But no, I didn't have to spend any money at all to change my number. No. So anyway.
All right, Robbie, I don't think we have any more questions here. So let's, or we don't have any questions that were on slides. So we should just open it up to questions from the members and see if anybody has something they'd like to ask.
Because I know there's some hams that are watching right now, especially Mark.
Hey, both you guys, what's the limit on wattage? You said something about 1,000 watt transmitter earlier. What's the limit from the FCC on wattage that you can transmit?
Okay, on your linear amplifiers, 1,500 watts is your maximum.
Okay.
Right, and it's band specific too. There are bands that are limited to mode, say the kind of transmission. And in the band plan, there are specific parts of the band. Technicians are restricted on certain bands to 100 watts. Other bands are restricted, like those new low frequency bands are restricted to 1 watt. So there's different requirements, but the maximum is 1,500 watts.
Okay.
And with 1,500 watts pumped into one of those antennas, like you see on the screen now, you're talking to the world.
Easily.
I can imagine.
That station there is K3LR. It's a contest station in Western Pennsylvania. I think they're on 10 acres or something like that. And the station is incredible.
Wow. The other question I have, you said that they were permitting new bands on there, and low frequency, the one you listed was at 472 kilocycles. Was that correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's pretty close to the IF on modern AMs. So is there transmitters, are they restricted so that they don't get into that frequency and interfere on the radios themselves?
You have to be really careful. You have to be really careful about that, of course. I mean,
sure.
Most radios today that you purchase don't have those bands unless you open the radio up and you make a modification to it that it can transmit anywhere. If you, kind of like the old CB days where you'd hack the CB radio,
and
you could talk between channels and things like that. There's a modification that's, kind of kept quiet for most radios. It's called a Mars modification. There's a group of military affiliate radio stations. Barry Goldwater, President Goldwater, or Senator Goldwater was really into communicating with by radio to Vietnam and forwarding phone calls from soldiers to families. And So he was interfacing between military frequencies and ham frequencies using the military affiliate system. And so most manufacturers still keep some kind of methodology in their design so that you can circumvent the band restrictions in your radios. Most won't tell you what they are unless you are part of the military affiliate group. But those are out there, so you can modify your radio. But in general, modern ham appliance transmitter transceivers are very filtered in terms of broadcasting out of off frequency, in terms of
Right.
harmonics.
Okay.
If you were down in those low frequencies and building your own transmitters, it's on you as the builder to make sure you're not splattering all over the place.
Yeah.
And if you are, you'll find out about it,
Yeah.
Somebody's watching somewhere. And that's another part of ham radio, actually. Ham radio is pretty self-regulated. So if you're splattering and making a nuisance of yourself, other ham radio operators are going to let you know about it.
Sure.
And there's official kind of, or semi-official kind of channels for that to happen, to notify
Okay.
somebody who's out of order,
Okay, thanks.
so to speak. Yeah. Well, Robbie, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, I was just going to mention, you were talking about Mars. When this guy Hobie, I know, used to be the guy that helped me get my license with our club here in Clackamas. He had he knew a officer in the military there, over on the military base, that could modify my 2-meter radio to Mars. So I had him do that, so I can talk on the Mars circuit on my 2-meter radio. I think it's a 47 point something band that what they did is they opened up the radio, and there's a strap, a little jumper strap that you unsolder, and that lets you go into the Mars channel there on the radio.
Right, in my Yaesu, it's a 0 ohm resistor, I believe. And you just take it out, which is essentially the same thing as a strap, except in my Yaesu, it's like microscopic. I didn't dare try it doing it myself. I don't have a microscope.
Yeah, it's pretty small. Yeah, those, got to be careful of those circuit boards. You don't want to overheat them. So I had the guy at the military base do it for me. He did a real nice, clean job. Yeah. So that's about all I got. And I just say that anybody wants to get in ham radio, just let me know, because we're not doing any testing right now because of the COVID, but the first Sunday of every month, we have a testing over here at Clackamas on 82nd and King Road. So if, as soon as that thing opens up, we're going to start doing our testing again. So,
Interesting.
yeah,
I think that the Tualatin Valley Club is actually doing online testing.
Yeah.
They've got some protocol for doing online testing, and I know some places in Alaska are doing online.
Hawaii's done
well.
online testing too.
Yeah. So I think you can actually take advantage of that. There may be an extra cost involved, but I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was the latest word with ours now. We're going to start doing online too. So, but sometimes when there's a backlog like we have now, for our next testing, we'll probably have over 20 guys come to our meeting, our testing, and that pretty well fills up the whole room. So, yeah, sometimes we have 20 some guys. I think it was 25 last summer before the COVID hit. And so nobody worried about, the COVID thing back then. So, yeah, it's, I'm going to have to see if I can talk to you, Mark, sometime.
I just Just got all my pieces to put up my LP array at my cabin, so I'll be better positioned to talk your direction.
Okay.
A little bit more gain antenna that Robbie's taught, you know, like one of those antennas you see in a tower, or just one, and not a tall tower, but I'm going to be putting that in here pretty soon, and that'll help boost my signal. So I'm on the wrong side of the island to get to the mainland. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I talk to Liebert almost every day.
Yeah, he's on the other side though too. So.
Yeah. So, but yeah. When you get your tower up and get going, let me know, and we can chat. But
Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a remote back at my old near my old place in Warshugo, but it's unfortunately the controller has been temperamental and I have to reset it all the time. But I can have my brother go and cycle the power, and I could talk from a local transceiver there in out of Warshugo.
Oh, okay. Oh, that'll work. Yeah. You know, I'm using an ICOM, an old 736.
Yeah.
And it goes from 2 meters up to 160. So, and I've got a 75-foot tower out and back with a great big long vertical, and it's got a 10, 15, 17, and 40 meter little antennas mounted to the side of it. So I can get on any frequency you want and go from there. So yeah, as soon as you get it set up, let me know. We can chat. I know I can get to your island because I can get to Liebert.
Yeah, right. I'm just saying I got the two mountains between me and you, so I got I can't get a real low angle signal from the west side of the island. See, so
okay, I think my signal will hit you because we were figuring it out. My first bounce hits the middle of the ocean out there, and then the next one hits his area. So I think my signal will get to you.
Yeah, it will. It's just that I say I'm at a disadvantage is all. So
okay. I tried 100 watts the first time to Liebert, and I did real well. I got over there at 5.7. You know, wattage, you know. So I went up to, I got a Meriton 500, so I went to 500, and he says you went clear over 5, 10, 15. So 500 watts should get to you real easy. So okay.
Hey, Robbie and Mark, thanks so much for the presentation.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, nice talk.
Next up, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. As you saw, all of you that got the call letter, I don't know if I got my call letter yet. I get it online. I don't know if it came through, but anyway, it was Tube of the Month was Philco. And I was just looking for that article to see who their main manufacturer. It's written in there. But anyway, bottom line is I found a couple of Philco tubes to show. The article goes into about how they were in direct competition with RCA, and they refused to make the metal tubes. And there's some information in the article I wrote that's in the call letter for May. So I got a couple examples here. Here's a box, or a Philco box, and this is a 1LA4 happens to be, and it's a new old, believe it or not, it's a new old stock. Even though the box is pretty well kind of, shown some use, probably moving from place to place, who knows. And this is typical of the Philco boxes that they use. This is a Loctal, which is a 1.5 volt filament used in mainly battery sets. And this is a power pentode. And the interesting thing is on this, when they made these, here's the tube itself, is that if you check on it, the filament current on this thing is 0.05 amps, which is maximum current on that. And as a comparison, I have this Philco tube here, which is also a battery set. It's also a 1.5 volt, it's a 26, which is a RF amplifier triode. And the interesting thing on that is a maximum filament current on this tube from, back in the battery set days of the 20s in there, and in some 30s battery sets, it's still 1.5 volts, but the maximum current on this tube is 1.05 amps. So they were able to come from that technology to be able to lower the draw or the current draw on these Loctals, and then they would fit into a lot of farm sets. I don't know if this pentode, power pentode is in a transoceanic or not. I know it may not be, but it's of that type of battery set that uses this tube, and it's such a they all went to lower current draw, so your batteries would last longer. So anyhow, just a little side note there on this, and it's got the Philco label on the tube there. You can see, if you can see that, I don't know if you can or not.
Yeah,
And,
it's there.
the yellow writing on there, and then it's got the tube number on top, 1LA4 pentode used for audio output in those battery sets. And so that's basically all I have for the Philco tubes.
Thanks, Mike.
Here,
Yes.
I have a new old stock one.
Uh-huh. Great.
Showing all the original packaging, amazingly enough.
That's a better box.
Yeah. And it's Philco branded, and I'm sorry, I guess it's got to get it in the right spot, but Philco branded, got the paper that has the license on it, and
oh, nice.
Just some I found it probably in an estate sale sometime, and it was, I just thought, well, I've got several Philcos, so it'd be kind of nice to have the Philco brand tubes. I think I have some 47s, I think. I'm trying to remember the numbers on them.
Those are nice.
Yeah, because I think I used to have some Philcos that had that, but this a 42, and so it's kind of cool to keep.
That's very cool. You did better than I did for a Philco box.
Just lucked out. I
Nice.
think that this place had several different new old stock Philco boxes.
Sure.
Never been touched. So.
Woo, nice.
Just as a matter of interest, that 1LA4 is used in the transoceanic.
Oh, good. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Oz. I thought it might have been, but I didn't look it up. Wasn't sure, so I appreciate that.
Say, Robbie.
Yeah.
What time is move-in Friday?
Okay, 5 o'clock.
5?
5 o'clock. Yeah. Because we're gonna get there at 3 and set up all the tables, and by that time, it should be able for you guys to move in at 5. Yeah, so 5 o'clock is a good time to move in.
Okay, if that's it, does anyone have any other point they want to bring up? Any comments, any questions?
I have a question for Robbie. How did you get the 75-foot antenna installed?
Installed? Okay. It's got a little history behind this. I was over at Mark Densmore, or not Mark, but Bob Meyer's place in Oregon City. And we were doing some of his testing of his equipment and stuff. And the neighbor called and says, I'm moving and I have this Roan 75-foot antenna that I want to take down. And if you guys come over and take it down, you can have it free.
Oh.
And I went and estimated the tower cost. It was $1,000 for that tower if you wanted to buy it new, but it's a Roan.
Goodness sakes.
And so me and Bob went over to this guy's house, which is 2 blocks away. Took it all down. It came apart in 10-foot sections. And it's a triangle type antenna, triangle thing. So we took it all apart, put it in the back of my pickup with all the cable and all the wiring and all the stuff that goes with it. And I took it over to my place. And I had to dig a big hole for it a 4x4 hole, 4 feet deep, poured concrete in there, mounted some mounting bolts in it, and had to wait for the concrete to cure. And so when it was cured, I put up the tower. It's a tilt-up tower. It's got a hinge on the side of it. So with the neighbors in my house help, and with the guy's 4-wheel drive winch on his Jeep, we pulled that great big old pole thing up there. My goodness. And for some reason, I did get all the bolts and everything on the foundation, the concrete straight. So when we put the tower up, we didn't even have to hard adjust it. It was all, excuse me, it all fit right up there perfectly. And it's a self-uprighting. I don't need any guy wires or anything to hold it. It's just all holds up by itself. So that's a story about that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
When you heard free, it didn't take you very long to get over there, I don't suppose, huh?
Oh, no, about 5 minutes.
Free is a very good price.
Yeah.
And your audio's not real strong.
Pat, during the meeting, there was a question on chat about the Walton radio. Are we going to send out pictures or have it at the swap meet for people to look at prior to the auction?
Well, I thought the auction would be on May 29th. Do you think we should bring it up to the May 15th show and auction it there at the end?
No, but perhaps have it on display there so that people can have a look at it and start the buzz prior to the auction. They can plan that way.
Sure. Okay, I'll bring it then. Let me write that down as a note.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Well, of course, I'm late. So what model Walton is it? Or Zenith?
It's a 9 tube. Isn't that a 232?
Yeah, 9S232. Yeah. Okay.
Do you want a bid on it, Mark?
No, not nice radio, but it takes up a lot of real estate and a lot of pocket change too.
Okay. Well, if there isn't anything else, we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. But if you guys want to stay on and still talk, that's fine by me.
I'm gonna bail.
Thanks, everybody. I gotta go.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.
Yep, have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Good meeting.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, see you later, Mark.
Yeah,
Thanks,
see ya.
Robbie. You did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
see you
Mark.
later.
See you guys.
Okay. It's lunchtime. Lunchtime at my place. All right. Everybody have a good day and we'll see you later.
Bye, Robbie.
Anybody else got any questions? I see there are a couple more guys there. See the doggies got any questions?
Yeah, what's for lunch?